everybody? Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Breaks, and today we're going to talk about UFC 263 going down this Saturday. And also, we're going to talk about the pro MMA debut of multi-division, multi-undisputed champ Claressa Shields and her first mixed martial arts fight. I'm going to start off with that because I'm not going to be too quick on that. Too in-depth on that because we don't know a lot about her opponent, and this is a lot of conjecture going into this one. We don't know what we're going to see. We, want to see her do well, but also this could end up going very badly for her. And that's really the intrigue of that fight. So before I even get more into that, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, because I know you're going to like what you hear in this video. Also, we're going to be talking about the 3 boxing events that we got going on this weekend as well. Rob and myself are going to be splitting those videos. And we've got the Charlo versus Montiel. We've got Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. And then we got Jaime Munguia fighting as well. And all 3 of those are outstanding fights on their own. And Rob and I are going to be breaking those down as well. So like I said, hit the subscribe button so you can catch all of those. And let's talk about Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields, 3-division boxing champion. She's the champ at 168, 160, and 154. Most people you see go up in divisions. She went down. She was the undisputed champ at 160 and at 154. The one of the few people in boxing that have ever done that. I think she may be the only one. She's also the only American to win 2 gold medals in boxing, male or female. We've had some outstanding male boxers, but she was the only one to have 2 gold medals. Of course, most guys, after they do that first Olympic run, they're already primed and ready to go pro. So that's neither here nor there. Those are still outstanding accomplishments on her end. And now, feeling that there's not much for her left to do in boxing, if at all, she's going to try her hand in mixed martial arts. You got to tip your hat off to her. And this is truly the mark of someone who is striving for greatness and the elite of the elite mindsets when it comes to just human capability in general. Not many people would switch over their professions after being so successful in the one that they were in to try to start from the beginning of something completely different. And you got to give her props for chasing that dragon. You got to give her props for daring to be great. Now, we don't know how that's going to be. It could end up like a CM Punk type of deal. However, CM Punk didn't have any previous fighting experience as far as any boxing, any martial art, anything. But he trained and he dedicated himself to it, but the skill gap was just too high. They also threw him directly to the wolves. It's not going to be a James Toney situation where you got a guy who doesn't even train in the sport that he's an all-time great in, which is boxing, crossing over to MMA and not really taking that time out and then going to fight a certified Hall of Famer in Randy Couture and getting annihilated. That is 100% to be expected. We also don't have, this is not like a Conor McGregor situation where you got McGregor, who was a multi-division MMA champ, crossing over to boxing, but boxing, the best boxer of this generation, one of the all-time greats in Floyd Mayweather. Claressa Shields is doing it the correct way. She's starting off in the Professional Fighters League, PFL, and she's fighting a not I don't want to be disparaging of the young lady, but she's not a top tier. She's not going in there to fight Amanda Nunes. She's not going in there to fight Holly Holm, who, by the way, is training with Claressa Shields. She's not going in there to face Chris Cyborg. She's not going in to face a Julia Budd or someone like that, to where it would be a large experience and skill gap that she would need to overcome. She's fighting someone who has she has more MMA experience, but with the experience that Claressa has in combat, should be able to help her be more successful than those the aforementioned fighters in their experimental fights. So that's happening Thursday on ESPN. So check that out. So let's talk about this UFC 263, where in the main event we have Israel Adesanya defending his middleweight title versus Marvin Vettori in a rematch from about 3 years ago. We have a rematch of a barn burner at 125, which is flyweight, between Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. If you have not watched their first fight, you got to go and see that fight, because that was a barn burner. That was definitely a fight of the year candidate, with both guys being hurt on multiple occasions and some high level mixed martial arts striking going on, with guys that also are very good in the grappling department. But they put on a show. That fight ended up in a draw, and they're going to do it again this weekend. The last high-profile fight on this card is Leon Edwards taking on Nate Diaz in a welterweight fight. Leon Edwards has not lost since losing to current welterweight champ Kamaru Usman several years ago. And Nate Diaz was last seen fighting Jorge Masvidal in the BMF title fight. And before that, he split 2 fights with Conor McGregor. So his name is up there in the high-tier, superstar level type of fights. And this is Leon Edwards' chance to show the world that he is one of the best in the division, and possibly catapult him to a star level if he can make a statement against Diaz, just like Jorge Masvidal did, cashing in on the year that he had to propel himself into superstardom. And that's great for the fighters. You want these guys to be in a position where they're going to make a lot of money, especially for the trade that they ply. Being hit in the face is no joke. I box amateur. I've trained boxers, kickboxers, and mixed martial artists, and it's not an easy way to make a buck. There's certainly several other ways you can go out there and make millions of dollars, but they chose to express themselves with their fists, feet, and their limbs in a physical kind of, I would say, artistic violence. They are practicing martial arts, which, involves some violence, but we love it. So, starting off with Figueiredo and Moreno, this one is hard to pick, man. They both rocked each other in that first fight. Both guys have beaten some really good fighters, and this one is splitting hairs. I think the first fight was mainly decided by a point deduction against Figueiredo. And in this one, it's going to be another knockdown, drag-out fight, because now they both tasted each other's best shot and said, hey, I took it, he may have buzzed me, but I can take it and I can give it back. And both guys feel that way. So we are in for another treat in this one. Both guys' defenses are leaky enough to where they're both going to be able to land clean on each other. And it's just going to be a battle of who can wilt first, or who can apply a steady amount of punishment on on their opponent to determine who's going to win that fight. And honestly, I have no clue how it's going to turn out, man. That one, I'm just going to sit, grab my popcorn, and enjoy it. And I think you should too. But if you do have a pick, drop it in the comment section and let me know why you think that either Figueiredo or Moreno is going to win that fight. Tell me some tactics, what you see as a weakness in whichever fighter, and let me know how you think that's going to go. So let's talk about Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. I've told you who they've been against. We last saw Leon Edwards against Bilal Muhammad, and that fight did not end the way anyone would want a fight to end. It ended on a no contest due to an eye poke. And, you know, you hear that and you're like, oh, whatever, man, an eye poke. But then you actually see it, and they put it in, like, his finger went all the way into Bilal Muhammad's eye. And that's nothing to frown your face up at, except, you know, the gruesomeness of it, because that was a serious injury that could have happened there. And he was visibly hurt by it. He could not see. It was the right call at the time. It was just disappointing because before that, Leon Edwards hadn't fought in almost 2 years. And he's been like he's been in the top 5 forever. He just didn't get that fight to push him over. And they were hoping that fight would get him into the title talk against Kamaru Usman, being that the last person to beat him was the current champ, Kamaru Usman. So now he's got a chance to bolt himself into stardom and beat a name fighter and put himself in the front of the line to get that title shot that he's been angling for. Diaz is no light task. We may have seen him split those fights with Conor McGregor, but he is a highly accomplished striker. He is a highly accomplished grappler. This man has one of the best cardio tanks in the business. And Leon Edwards is going to have to pack a lunch because this is going to be a workman-like type of performance that he's going to have to put in. Diaz has only been stopped like once in his career, and he's got a lot of fights. I remember watching him and his brother Nick in Strikeforce like 10, 12 years ago. Like, man, these guys are awesome. But he has not competed as much as he has not been active, but neither has Leon Edwards. So that is a plus in Diaz's category. He's got that big fight experience. He's got the mental and physical toughness. He's got the veteran savvy that you would need to take on someone like Edwards, who's soaring, who's catapulting, who's peaking. This is a great fight for both men. And I think Edwards is not a little bit, he's a lot sharper. Diaz throws a lot of throwaway type of shots. He likes to overwhelm guys with activity, with volume, and try to drown them in deep waters. He was able to do that to Conor McGregor twice, even though only one of those fights he came out with the victory with. But that's his game plan. His game plan is to be in your face, frustrate you, hit you with all kinds of shots. He is one of those guys who is very good at mixing in his light punches with his hard punches to disguise when you feel a hard shot is coming. Because if you're like, okay, he's just throwing light stuff, let me move light, and he throws that heavy shot, you're going to not be expecting that, and it's going to buzz you at least. Whereas most guys, especially when you see in mixed martial arts, every time they throw a punches, they're aiming for the knockout. Diaz has more of a boxing mentality when it comes to that, where he's setting you up with combinations and punches that, like I said, what we call throwaway punches. And that volume, if Edwards is not ready for it, could wear him out and leave him susceptible to Diaz's exceptional ground game later on in the fight. However, Edwards is a very, very well-rounded fighter. He has a great ground game. He has a great standing game. So I want to go with Edwards because he seems like the fresher guy. His punches are a little bit tighter. If they do get into exchanges, I think his punches will get there first. Because he's not going to do those throwaway shots like Diaz does. If they do exchange combinations, his is going to make more of an impression on the judges if this fight goes the distance. So I'm going to go with Leon Edwards in that one. And I think it'll be like a 2-1 type of deal. Previously, it was going to be a 5-round co-main event, but I think they may have downgraded it now that it's a little bit lower on the card, and Nate Diaz had to pull out from that originally scheduled fight that was going to happen back in June. Correct me if I'm wrong. Rob always keeps his computer around him. I should probably start doing the same, but I like to shoot it from the hip. That's just how I roll. But that gives you a chance to engage. Say, hey, Hakeem, no, this one's a 5-round fight too. Hit me up in the comment section and let me know. I don't mind being told I'm wrong. It's okay. Just do it respectfully. Hey, it's not a 3-round fight. It's a 5-round fight. Cool. Let's chop it up and see. So now let's talk about the main event. Adesanya versus Vettori 2. Vettori coming off a dominant win against Kevin Holland, where he was able to take Holland down at will, set a middleweight record for takedowns. Adesanya coming off a failed attempt to capture the light heavyweight belt from Jan Blachowicz, Mr. Polish Power. And a fight that he did pretty well in, but once he got down to the ground, the size, it was just too much for him. And also, Blachowicz was also able to land some very good heavy shots on Adesanya as well in the stand-up. So I don't think he has that same problem with Vettori. In the first fight, it was a split decision victory for Adesanya. I don't see where they gave 2 rounds to Marvin Vettori. But if you listen to Marvin Vettori, he won all 3 rounds. That's good confidence-wise. Looking at it objectively, I don't see how he got to that conclusion. But scoring fights is subjective, so to each his own. If that's what he used to believe in himself, and he has been on an incredible win streak since then, beating all of the fighters that he's faced us since that fight. Adesanya was also undefeated, went on to win the middleweight title in a vacant title match against Kelvin Gastelum, then beating the incumbent Rob Whittaker by knockout, beating Yoel Romero, who is a just straight up genetic freak, then beating Paulo Costa, another genetic freak, but then coming up short against Blachowicz. So one of the things that is going to lead me to the pick that I'm going to make here is the level of competition that both men have fought since fighting each other. Now, Adesanya has gone on to fight several title contenders, several former champs, several high-level fighters. He fought Anderson Silva. He fought Derek Brunson, who was really good and was a title contender in that division. He fought Brad Tavares, who was really good and possibly on the rise to be in the talks of a title shot. He took on Robert Whittaker, who was the champ. He took on Kelvin Gastelum, a perennial contender. He took on Yoel Romero, also a multiple-time title challenger. He took on Blachowicz, who was a newly minted champion at a higher weight. Costa, who was a ball of fire. I mean, this man was a shooting star straight to the top, and Adesanya embarrassed him. Marvin Vettori, however, has not faced that same level of competition. Not even close. He has taken on the other hand, a lot of middle to lower ranked middleweights, but he has done so in a very dominant fashion to where there was no doubt that he was better than these fighters. So he has that. But he did have a lot of trouble against Kevin Holland, even though he set that record for takedowns, and he pretty much had his way with him on the ground. When they stood up, it was a totally different story. And while there have been improvements by Vettori in the stand-up, I still don't think he has come close to even challenging the level of Adesanya's stand-up. And Adesanya has been able to beat other high-level wrestlers since he's fought Vettori. And higher-level wrestlers that have competed at a higher caliber of competition. So that has made Adesanya a better fighter. Vettori has become a better fighter in kind of the old-fashioned way, where you're plying your trade, you are active, you are working on your shortcomings, and the improvement was shown in like the fight with Hermanson to the fight with Holland. You see improvements being made. So it could be a case of him peaking right at the right time to take Adesanya. Or it could be Adesanya showing that his level of competition, his level of striking, his takedown defense is so much better than anything that Vettori has faced since he fought him, that he's just going to show him, I'm levels above you, and I'm going to show you on Saturday. I think we get somewhere in the middle of that. I think Vettori is going to have success against Adesanya, especially if he does not get knocked out in those early rounds. When those late rounds come, his pressure is going to be able to score some takedowns against Adesanya, and those score points. The question is, can he capitalize on that and keep him there, unlike how he was able to do in the first fight, where he took him down. He wasn't able to get any offense on the ground. Adesanya was able to get back up. He was able to get him back down. They ended up having to be stood up because there was no action going on. Against Blachowicz, who is, in a weight class that was 20 pounds heavier, come rehydration time, he was fighting the heavyweight. Once Adesanya got on the ground, there was nothing he could do about it. I think with a slightly smaller opponent, he'd be able to do something about it. So it's up to Marvin to erase that belief. However, I am going with Adesanya by decision. I think he will show enough on the stand-up and stuff enough takedowns to stave off the late round rally of Vettori and continue his undefeated streak at middleweight. What do you think? Hit me up in the comment section below. Do you think Vettori can pull it off? Do you think he can break the confidence in the will of Adesanya and become the new middleweight champ? Or do you think the style bender does it again? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Follow us on social media, Capital Combat on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Comment down below, like I said. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Because, like I was telling you at the beginning of the video, Rob and I will bring you all of the boxing action as well. And we got 3 great boxing matches on this weekend on top of this great mixed martial arts card. So for combat fans, combat sport fans, you are going to get a very well-deserved makeup for the circus that we got last weekend that so many people complained about in the combat sports community. I also have a video on that, so if you haven't seen that, go look at that too, because we got a responsibility as hardcore fans to put some eyeballs on some of the people that we would find more respectable as opposed to what, you know, we watched in the exhibition. Well, most people watched. I didn't watch it, and I don't plan on ever watching it, but that's neither here nor there. Like, I'm not going to put anybody down for watching the exhibition fight, and whether they were entertained or not, to each his own. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you in the next one. Until then, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.